13 Desember 2023. Ek is nou al so agter met my nuusgoed. Ek het net gedink ek moet daarom seker vasbyt 'n bietjie 'n nuusprogram doen. Hier is soveel goed wat gebeur. Nou in hierdie aflewering van Koffie en Beskuit begin ek sommer met hierdie ding wat ek sien. Rooi Strauss arresteer vir Ronnie Kersrels, die voormalige minister van intelligensie. Dan gaan hy nou aan oor al die oortredings wat Kersrels gepleeg het toe hy by daai speech van hom gestaan het, sy groot bek, gesê dat hulle moes 100 boere doodgemaak het. Waar dit gaan opkom, sal ons nou maar moet sien, maar Rooi is vasberade. Dan is daar daai geveg wat huidiglik nou aan die gang is, between Reino de Beer and Johan Rood, and accusations of flying left, right and center. I have a tendency to be more on the side of Johan Rood, but who knows? And then we get this of the old man that was shot during a load shedding session on his smallholding. After neighbors were mobilized, 2 men who were found in the vicinity of the smallholding, aged 37 and 42, were taken in for questioning. The deceased sustained 3 gunshots, wounds to his upper body. 3 empty .22 shells, casings and a bolt cutter were found on the scene and confiscated by the police. I'm beginning to wonder why the fuck these guys are getting arrested. And then I saw this meme and I had to laugh. Dear Plexiglass, thank you for protecting me from the cashier who just touched every single item I'll be taking home with me. This period in history will be known as the Dumb Ages. Very appropriate. The Dumb Ages, that is where we are. And this piece of news, Joburg Water implements system to enhance water supply. Breaking news. Joburg Water is putting systems in place to boost water supply in areas with low levels of water. I don't know how they create water. I mean, they waste so much water through dilapidated infrastructure that is leaking out millions and millions of liters of water. But if you talk about it, you're a fucking racist. Another woman found dead in the Free State. Nombulelo Michael is the latest missing person to be found dead in the Free State. This is our lives, daily. And then they want to talk shit about what's going on in Ukraine or going on in Gaza. In South Africa, the people are dying like flies every day. This is worse than a war zone. And then we've got this. Gauteng Provincial Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Elias Mawela has lamented the manner in which the government is dealing with undocumented migrants who are reportedly arrested but then later released. Guys, you have to agree. Things are totally out of control. This government has got no control over anything. And then there's this bit of news. Early data pointing to more fuel price relief in January. The good news is that next month fuel price equation is showing a positive balance at this early stage. But we have now heard stories about how we are being ripped off via Petro SA and so forth. But yet the people takes it. And then we've got this. ANC and Isolweni investment starts urgent, without prejudice, negotiations over the 102 million rand dispute. Isolweni investment has entered into settlement negotiations with the ANC to resolve the 102 million rand dispute. What the fuck is that? Of course the thing will be cooked again. And then we've got this. Disbarred advocate Malesela Tefu declared fit to stand trial after undergoing a mental assessment because of his continued theatrics during court proceedings. Well, let's see. And then you hear this. 24 million rand state theatre fraud. Employees allegedly flouted supply chain rules and siphoned money. 2 employees allegedly utilized letterheads of the existing companies to create fraudulent invoices. And that is now at the State Theatre. There's absolutely no fucking spot in this country that they are not stealing. What does that tell you? Efficient government? Not a fuck. And this is something that I'm keeping a close eye on. Court battles and divisions threatens the future of the institution of the Zulu monarchy. It is clear that many in the Zulu royal family do not believe King Misuzulu should be the heir to the throne. And there was that judgment that he must step aside. And then there's this. Health Minister and the Ombud outraged after tragic death of a teenager told by nurses to walk to the police station. Both the Health Ombudsman and Professor Twale Mokuna and the Minister of Health was upset about it. Upset, but fuck, the guy's dead. And then I see this. Workers are battling to collect unemployment benefits despite new technology. Apparently that UIF app and phone-in system that was launched in September is falling apart. What else? And then we have that news, procurement process starts for 2,500 megawatt of new nuclear power, which I believe is a good thing, a bit late, but it is happening. At least they're moving in the right direction now. And then I've got this, and I mean, this isn't news, but I thought it was a fucking joke. President Cyril Ramaphosa announces plans to criminalize abuse of political positions. Good luck with that one. And then we have that story of Durban beaches that has been closed due to E. coli. This time of the year, the beaches are being closed. Durban is gone. Done. Literally turned into a shithole. And then there was this news that someone shared with me as well. Shocking moment in Turkish parliament today as MP Hassan Besmet threatened that Israel would suffer the wrath of Allah. Seconds later he collapsed with a heart attack. Take from it whatever you like. Now this is a little bit disturbing. Gold One mine. White miners targeted for thorough beating underground, says the National Union of Mine Workers. More than 400 mine workers have remained underground since last week at the Gold One mine in Springs, amid allegations that workers are being forcefully held against their will while some of the miners are being stripped and routinely assaulted. The mine's head of legal, Ziad Hassam, was previously quoted on SABC saying the situation playing out at the mine east of Joburg was both a hostage situation and a sit-in, as some of the miners were acting in solidarity with the 50 workers that were retrenched. However, in an interview with broadcaster Newsroom Africa, Victor Ngwane, regional organizer of NUM, said that there was no voluntary sit-in being staged, but a hostage situation characterized by severe flogging of the workers underground with racial bias. What we know is that everyone who is underground is being held hostage now. There is no management managing the situation. The latest information is that it has now escalated to a racial issue. There are white miners underground who are being humiliated. Guys, things are fast spinning out of control. But let's go overseas a bit. And I see this. Germany will supply Ukraine with nearly 200,000 artillery shells in 2024. Bundeswehr Inspector General Karsten Broer said in an interview. And I am fucking laughing. The EU in totality has got capacity to manufacture just over 6,000 rounds of 155mm ammo per month. Per month! The Americans can do 9,000 rounds per month. That's 15,000 rounds. On the Ukraine front, there are days when they shoot off 60,000 rounds of 155s per day. So this 9 plus 6, 25,000, 9 plus 6, 15,000 rounds per month will last how long in the Ukraine? Seems to me from breakfast until morning tea, and then it's done. Then they must wait another month. Then we've got this from Argentina. On the first day in office, new Argentinian President Javier Milei signed an executive order reducing government ministries from 21 to 9. How's that? 12 ministries down the shooter. Now, I'm just a little bit scared. Cyril might read this and fuck knows next we're gonna get those 12 ministries that Argentina has dropped. I'm worried, boys. I read this and I'm just shaking my head. UK's Johnson wanted back as PM. Pasta plot is to help. Former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson could lead the government again as a result of surprising plans being hatched by the Conservative Party. Parliamentarians dissatisfied with Sunak discussed their plans at the Italian eatery Giovanni's, as the publication clarified, so it's called this group the Pasta Plotters. The plotters believe that only Johnson's return will help the party win the next election. Johnson stepped down as UK Prime Minister last September after a string of ministerial resignations. Those British, they never cease to amaze me. But I like the shit that I see there. Forgive me, but that's what it is. I like to see it. Why Arab monarchies won't isolate Russia despite American demands. Washington has been ignoring Gulf nations' aspirations. So now they are looking for a more mutually beneficial partnership with Russia. And I like that. And then there's this video which is very disturbing. Palestinians displaced by Israel's ongoing operations on Gaza, struggling to access clean drinking water, social media footage shows. Now, I listened to a program on Piers Morgan, and he had two guys there that were pro-Palestinian. And he had another guy on the phone, which were anti. And what was, to me, most amazing, Morgan is 100% committed. The Palestinians and Hamas is a terrorist organization. And they killed civilians on the 7th of October. So the one guy said to him, but okay, let's just clarify this. What is this terror act that you talk about? The killing of civilians. Yes, says Morgan. And he said, okay. So, and then when the Israelis bombs the Gaza and bombs homes and public places and things like that and kill civilians, is that not terror? No, says Piers Morgan. And I listen to it and I think to myself, okay, now where the fuck did the Tor bliksem off the cork prop drifting in his brain? When the Palestinian side kills civilians in Israel, it's terror. But when the Israelis kill civilians in Gaza, it's not terror. How's that possible? But the thing that pisses me off about that whole Gaza-Israel thing is that everybody is pushing, all the sides are pushing political points all the time. And in the meantime, civilians are being killed by the hundreds per day, especially children. That is not right. It must stop. The UN tried to get a ceasefire immediately, and the Americans blocked it, and that fucking slopgat Souties sitting there in the UK, they stayed out of, they didn't vote. They abstained. All the other members voted for it. But that is where we are. That's where we are. And then there's this little video, and it says, how many bears can you spot? Kronotsky Nature Reserve in Russia, Far East, and it's a beach scene, and there is, I see 5 bears playing in the surf there. It looks like the Russians has now finally taken Mariinka in Donetsk. Now for those that look at the Donbass issues, the Russians are slowly but surely pushing the Ukrainians out of the Republic of Donetsk. And these strongholds, Mariinka and Avdiivka, is bases that they used to bombard Donetsk city. And the Russians are now pushing them out. Quite interesting talk that I listened to, where the guy said, and it was a guy from Iran that was in the debate, and he said that the Muslim countries, all of them, have got a major problem with the extremists, because those extremists, they are what they are, extremists, and they are dangerous to the West as well as to the Arabs. But they've got a major problem, and that is that in the Middle East, the West, and specifically America, is financing those extremist groups. We've got this fuck up there in Gaza. Hamas. Hamas was created by Israel and financed by Israel. Now Hamas is the reason why the Israelis assume the right to destroy Gaza. And then I'm so sick and tired of that fucking 127 people killed on the 7th of October. There has been so many interviews with Israeli soldiers that said that they killed a lot of people on that Saturday, where there was houses with hostages in. They got the instruction from their headquarters to bomb those houses. I've seen one report in which the reporter came to the conclusion that more than half of the people that were killed on that Saturday were killed by the Israeli Defense Force. And then a lot of the people that were killed, a large proportion of the people that were killed were actually IDF soldiers that were killed. Off-duty guys. So there's so much bullshit. And then I see this video of an Israeli soldier standing here in his full gear, and he is smiling from ear to ear while he trashes a Palestinian shop, breaking dolls and breaking stuff and throwing food on the floor and trashing things. Just trashing things. This is what the fucking Jews are doing there. Let me correct that. Zionists, what they are doing there. They are the fucking terrorist organization. And then there's a little report here. Elon Musk has been asking Biden and Zelensky about Gonzalo Lira. A critic of the Kiev government, Gonzalo Lira, is now awaiting trial in the Ukrainian city of Kharkov. Well, I don't know how long that city is still going to be Ukrainian. And then there's this little video of man tears down Palestinian flag flying in London and all hell breaks loose. I don't know. And then there's this joke. Americans don't want Trump retribution. Kevin McCarthy says it. The former House Speaker argued that the US doesn't want retribution from Donald Trump if he returns to the White House. What President Trump needs to do in his campaign needs to be about rebuilding, restoring, renewing America. It can't be about revenge. I'm sure a lot of them are. If Trump gets back into the seat, there's a few of them that's going to be in deep shit. And then I listened to this clown. UK Foreign Minister David Cameron wants to steal Russia's frozen assets and send them to the Kiev regime. When asked what should happen to Russia's $411 billion worth of frozen assets, the former British PM said, there's a very strong argument for sending the funds straight to Zelensky's coffers. How's that? And they think they're going to steal those assets and come away from that scot-free. They're in for a hell of a surprise. I listened to another debate in which the guy just said, well, I've got all these talks of how to steal those assets, but not one of the commentators makes a mention of what is Russia going to do if they do it. And then I've got this article Ireland to slash Ukraine refugee allowance over 5 times. The Irish authorities are considering reducing the weekly allowance allocated to Ukrainian refugees from €220 to €38.8 per week. Well, the reality is, Ireland, England, everywhere, people that are now on pension, citizens from those countries, are struggling to put food on their table. Many has lost their houses. Many are sleeping in alleyways and things like that. They're totally homeless. And they have to try and make a living on a meager pension from funds to which they fucking contributed their whole lives. And these cretins in charge of those countries are giving, look like this, €220 a week to immigrants. Let that sink in. I've said it many times. The only way the Western world, people in the Western world will only survive, go back to their tribes and go tribal on the politicians. That's your only way out. These politicians are busy wiping you all out. And then we had this situation where Viktor Orbán bumped into Zelensky in Argentina. And Zelensky doesn't look very happy. Brazil's Lula snubs Zelensky. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky invited his Brazilian counterpart, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, to meet, but he refused. Zelensky's days is over. Hungary refuses to bow to EU pressure on Ukraine membership. Hungary insisted it would not bow to the coercion over Ukraine's membership talks ahead of this week's EU summit. A majority of European politicians want to make such important decisions, which are entirely unprepared and lack strategic agreement on the future of Europe, says the Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó. We will not give in to any pressure, irrespective of where that's coming from and what kind of blackmail it is. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba warned his counterparts ahead of their pre-summit meeting of the devastating consequences if not agreeing to Kiev's demands for membership talks. And then we've got this, Slovakia opposes Ukraine-EU accession talks. Zelensky is done. The Americans is trying desperately to get out of the Ukraine. They don't know how to get out. They just don't want to admit that they've lost. They want to weasel themselves out there. And now they're coming with this shit that is a stalemate and all of that. And the Russians says there's no stalemate. We're moving. I'm laughing. You guys must excuse me. I'm laughing. Oh yeah, I have to mention it. That guy that was stalking me, which I refer to as my pet Nazi. I have, after receiving some documentation from people, I have to apologize to the Nazis. I cannot call that stalker of mine a Nazi. He definitely is not one. I'm actually embarrassing the Nazis. So I'll just refer to him as my stalker. Yemen blocks Israel-bound ships in the Red Sea. Well, there it goes. And then there's this article. The West mulls replacing Zelensky. And that is according to Russian intelligence. Discussions about potentially replacing Zelensky as the Ukrainian figurehead have intensified, according to Sergei Narishkin, Russia's Director of Foreign Intelligence Service. I've read many articles like that. Netanyahu should resign, claims the ex-US ambassador. The former Israeli ambassador to the US, Martin Indyk, believes the PM, Netanyahu, represents a clear and present danger to Israel due to his rigid determination to stay in power at all costs. He needs to resign yesterday, Indyk posted on X, while quoting a link to an article that reported Netanyahu knew Qatar was funneling millions into Gaza to support Hamas and supported it. There you go. And then this headline, Zelensky stands to lose US and EU support. And that's from the Financial Times. Ukraine could end this week watching its two most important allies reject renewed financial aid. That will be the end of them. And listen to this one. UK government creates a new Russian sanctions office. London announced the creation of the Office of Trade Sanctions Implementation on Monday to enhance its ability to address companies evading anti-Russia sanctions. Yippee! They're not deep into the shit enough. They want to go deeper. That's the way to go, boys. When you're in the shit, dig, dive. That's what you do. That is British. Betrayed by feminism. Woman realizes she wants kids and a family. A 30-year-old woman has gone viral after posting a tearful video in which she claims to have been betrayed by feminism, which persuaded her to ignore trying for a family after now realizing she wants to settle down with a husband. Melissa Persling ended a 7.5-year relationship last year, during which she says she started to realize she enjoyed cooking meals for her partner and cleaning their home. Acts she had been conditioned to believe were wrong for women to do. Well, what can we say? It is, to me, I'm just watching and I'm wondering, when will sanity walk back into the room? When? I just hope that when sanity walks back into the room is not filled only with corpses. And I'm going to end this here with this happy news. Ukrainian enlistment officers conducting raids on gyms looking for new conscripts for Zelensky's army. Eyewitnesses published footage on social media of people in military uniforms handing out subpoenas while young men are training. That's desperate. But that's the world we live in. That is where we are. Insane. From where I sit and I look at it, at this point in time, the only country where there is sanity is Russia. And that may upset you, but I don't give a shit. Fact of the matter is, in Russia, no discrimination against culture, no unicorns and rainbow shit, none of that. Full support to family values and families. And they are pushing their farmers to produce food like hell. What do they know that we don't know? Maybe we should ask Malema, why the hell is Russia so bent on producing food, while here in South Africa, between the ANC and the EFF, they want to wipe the farmers out? Think about that. Tell me in the comments if you know why. I cannot see the logic. Have a great evening.